The memories are so strong about being with my mother. There were times, there was this person, Bob. He was a Harvard-educated man who just couldn't get it all together. And all he wanted from my mother was a room, and she would ask me to boil a pot of coffee and bring him some donuts out of the freezer. And Bob would be so thankful for this cup of coffee and frozen donuts from my mother. And I think of her real conviction and real love that she had for people. And that can't help but come into the music.
I'm Zach Newmark. This is Dab Yankee, and here with us today in Amsterdam, ahead of an upcoming show, Gregory Porter. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Hey, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
2 Grammy wins.
Yeah.
And, you're out on tour. You're about to be out on tour again, coming up. I believe you're starting on tour next month.
Yeah.
And you've got this big show that's set for the end of June in Amsterdam. You got to tell me about it.
Well, it's with the Metropole Orchestra, who I've worked with in the past at the North Sea Jazz Festival. Also, I think our first concert was a filmed concert at the Paradiso venue. Iconic jazz and pop orchestra. They could play anything, really. Polka orchestra, whatever. But just great musicians, great people, and the conductors, both Jools Buckley and Vince Mendoza. Vince Mendoza will be conducting my show next month. Quite frankly, a full slice of a few songs from each of my records. Really just want to express myself as an artist with the orchestra. It's a great orchestra, and they amplify what it is that you're trying to do. So even at the moments of sensitivity, they amplify sensitivity. That's the genius of the arrangements and the understanding of the musicians in the orchestra. So I'm looking forward to it. Open air, let the bugs and whatever come. And
it's at the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah.
Also, which, an impressive venue to be playing at.
Yeah. I somebody said the other day, I'm a jazz artist. I have no business, trying to be in these large spaces, but why not? Why not me? The audience in the Netherlands have been extraordinary, for me and with me. I think it may be a function of, a few things, my talent, and then being the least of it. No, it's the music, and it's the musical understanding, I think, that comes by way of several things: culture, radio, television, North Sea Jazz Festival, I think, that introduces a lot of people to a bunch of different types of music, probably at a young age in a way. Whatever it is, the combination of things, this market here has been very strong for me. I can come here and do, quite large shows, and people are sitting down or standing up. They're accepting audiences. But I've been coming to here for 15 years now. So
yeah, we were going through some of your accolades, and also, but some of the statistics on your Spotify account as well. And you have about 2 million active listeners per month on Spotify, but the 2 cities that have the most listeners are London and Amsterdam.
This is interesting to know. I didn't know that.
So what is it? What is it about here? You mentioned the North Sea Jazz Festival, of course, but what is it about here that, they seem to kind of gravitate towards not just your music, but probably you and your personality.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I think those two places I have the greatest number of international friends. And so I don't know. They just get me, my vibe, my energy, optimism, positivity. I kind of feel that about the people of the Netherlands. So yeah, that must be it. There is this, underlying theme or a thread that goes through my music that is irrepressible love and optimism and kind of brighter side, while not naively stating the condition or the opposition that we have to surmount. So yes, I think it's just something maybe built into the culture. I'll take it. And
so
there is both the Netherlands and the UK audiences. They have a tradition of really loving soulful voices. And though I'm a jazz singer, I come from my roots in gospel, as my mother was a minister, and I come from this soulful expression place, even if I am singing jazz.
Yeah. We recently, just last month, we interviewed Femi Kuti, who it sort of reminds me of that same mentality as well, where, there are personal, issues, political issues that they find, as artists, you both find very important to you. But at the same time, even though, as you say about your own music, you have protest songs, your songs still come out with this, huge amount of energy and this huge sort of soulfulness about it, and often very upbeat as well.
Yeah. And there's something to say about love as well. Yeah. So I think just like a good, well-rounded cross section of themes for the audience to feel. So, often it's funny. I don't often do an analysis of my success. So you telling me which are the best places for me on Spotify and things like this. I don't often do assessments of it. I like to think that there's some magic in it, and I'll keep it that way. I'll try to spread this musical fairy dust wherever I can. And I'm thankful for the byproducts of success, which is, good ticket sales or record sales or Spotify, whatever these things are. But ultimately, I'm just peddling in, units of love. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
I love the idea also about the North Sea Jazz Festival being a way to expose people to all different forms of music, which if you haven't been there, you maybe just assume that it's just, one type of jazz or another type of jazz. We took our kids there a couple of years ago and saw, an absolute blues legend in Buddy Guy.
Yeah.
We saw a French hip hop band that we had never heard of before.
Yeah.
Van Morrison played as well. So this just huge wide range and all, very different from each other.
Yeah.
Is that something that you yourself find appealing about performing at that festival? Because you've been back a number of times.
Yeah, it is. And I remember when I was one of those new emerging artists, I played on the outdoor stage. I think it's called Tigress or something like that. It was just a little tiny place near the beer and the hot dogs. And it's kind of a place where people listen while they're getting a beer and a hot dog.
Right.
And so I was there doing my thing, and I wasn't with my band. I was with the Dutch musicians. It was super cool. And and as the years went on, a little bigger room and a little bigger room, a little bigger room, until we packed out mass a few times. And so it's been great. But that thing of how varied the music can be there. It's really extraordinary. Like you say, Buddy Guy. I remember, Prince was there one time, and I remember being in the back of a Jill Scott performance, and she was in the large room, and I remember saying to myself, "But I'll never do this. I'll never, fill this space or this place. I'll never be that significant to people." I remember saying that to myself, as a matter of factly. And so the opportunity to come back and to come back again and build an audience to the point where I'm in that room, I'm on that stage, and those people in there are there to see me, and I filled the room. So it's been just a great experience, a great festival. And again, the byproduct of that is that when I come to do my own shows, they were like, "Oh, I remember that experience we had at the North Sea. Let's have that again wherever I go." And so, yeah, it's wonderful. It's really wonderful.
Was there a moment where there was a shift in your mentality about it, where you went from thinking, "I'll never be able to fill a venue like that," to, "Oh, I can definitely fill venues like
Well,
this"?
let me tell you, this is going to sound crazy, but I keep a healthy ignorance because I don't, I want the size of my hat to stay the way that it is. And so when I say healthy ignorance, I don't like fuss up about, "Oh, what's the size of the venue? How big are we? How many people?" Because I do so many shows, it's in me to give everybody the same, quality of an amount of energy that I can, whether it's a 500 seater or 5,000 seater, right? So I remember when we go to do a show at the Ziggo Dome, I was like, "Oh, well, dome, that sounds kind of big, and then I get there and it's, 15,000 seats. And I was like, okay, this is substantial.
This is more than kind of.
This is more. And actually when I saw because sometimes even at North Sea, it's hard to imagine. You do your sound check and it's hard to imagine a place with bodies filled. And once all those bodies get in there, then it's like, wow, it feels quite large. But yeah, I guess it would be the moment at which we filled, but not only filled, but like it legally stuffed in all those people into the large space at North Sea. I said to myself, I was like, okay. And halfway through, you think, okay, somebody else's show is going to start, and then all these people are going to leave. Nobody left,
right?
Because the energy was good, and the show was popping, and they all stayed. And so I was like, I am one of those people who does a big show, and then people stay for. And so, I hope to continue that good energy with the audiences here in the Netherlands. Yeah,
I mean, you mentioned Paradiso also, which was a church, converted long ago into this, spectacular venue in the city center.
Yeah.
A far cry from the types of churches that you grew up in, in California.
Yeah.
I don't know if people in the Netherlands know about these sort of like storefront churches.
Yeah.
But you got to tell me a little bit about kind of what that was like growing up. Yeah.
Well, my mother was, she was a minister who would go to the places, to the streets, to where people really needed church, really needed the support and the wisdom and the food, clothing, housing that the church can supply. Interesting thing is we weren't a big organization. It was really my mother and what she could scramble, what she could glean from grocery stores or you know, food institutions that could help her get some food to give to hungry people. She did the same with clothing. She was in real estate, so she was able to, you know, house people sometimes for months without them paying her. And she had the ministry every Sunday, probably, and there was a Thursday night Bible study, and, you know, different days. There was always something going on. And I was her singer. I mean, there was 8 kids, but, right. You know, she picked my voice as the one, as it was, you know, for her to be her soloist. So we were in church together a lot. And, but she was interested in being in the worst places in any city we were at. So my hometown, Bakersfield, that was Lakeview Avenue. And it's called The Road. But in one of my songs, it's the alley. Take me to the alley. Mm-hmm. And this is a street where you know, where you'll find, you know, very expressive and exuberant and amazing people, but also find those people who are on the edge, the lonely ones, hungry ones, addicted ones, afflicted ones, you know, prostitution and drugs. And as a child, that was my first audience. Those are the people I sang to. And, you know, she just encouraged me to always have this like openness with people, no matter their condition. And so a storefront church, in a way, is non-purpose built building. And essentially you slap a cross on it and put some chairs up and you open those doors. And sometimes you open the doors and the open doors are just so you can come outside and put the speaker on the outside. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did many times. And I sang out on the sidewalk. So it's, in a way, it's the busking, you know, but you know, with little gospel songs. Yeah.
Being around, you know, all those different types of people that you described, mm-hmm. who children are normally sheltered away from,
right,
as opposed to exposed to,
right.
You know, how did that kind of shape you later in life?
This is so interesting. Good question, because, right, these are individuals but I learned so much from them. Some of them were blues singers. Some of them were just, you know, they may love the blues. Some of them were old gospel singers and you know, had some difficulty in their lives or whatever. But many, many talented people. I often mention this group of guys. They were like, you know, sons to my mother. They would, you know, sometimes they would come to her for food or money or whatever, but they would also help her if she needed to unload a truck or whatever like that. But they were street guys. Alley-oop, you know, they all had street names. Mm-hmm. Alley-oop, Skullcat, Frenchie, Chief. They were all these characters, and I've employed and in a way borrowed some of their energy, both in theater when I did theater and also on stage. Sometimes I put on their cloak when I am approaching a song. Yeah.
What's an example of that?
An example of that may be Long List of Troubles is one of the songs on my record, All Rise. I'm not saying I've had a sheltered life. I've had quite an extraordinary life and many ups and downs in my family, going through in you know, something I don't often like to bring up, but an enormous amount of racist incidents in my hometown, just the economic ups and downs. Sometimes we were those desperate people on the street. And sometimes we were the givers. Sometimes we were the receivers. So I don't mean to say that I'm just borrowing the lives of these difficult and desperate people, but I identify with them and bring that into the music. So maybe the lyric is, going through hard times and essentially saying, what don't kill me has done made me hard. I realized that these men had been hardened by life because of the circumstances.
It's such a different take from that which doesn't kill me makes me stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well, right? Because the stronger may be just a hardened shell that makes it harder and harder and more difficult to break through, right?
But I chose this kind of this word because I knew these men, and they were hard, but at the same time, with this tender center. Maybe I was thinking of ice cream with a chocolate coating, But what don't kill me has done made me hard. It may have hardened my exterior, but inside there's something quite loving. And I'm a person who in my lyric will just draw from any environment that I'm in and try to find something in the environment and find the melody and the poetry to express it. Mm-hmm. So I did that with my experience with those people, but the sum total of it all, the optimism and ebullience of the gospel experience and the difficulty of seeing people in difficult situations. I think sometimes the two of those together can be soul music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You mentioned Buddy Guy. I was with him the other day.
That's great.
Just to jump on that at the International Jazz Day that this year was celebrated in Chicago. So that was really extraordinary.
Right, he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you mentioned the racial issues that your family faced in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Bakersfield, certainly when you were living there, was an incredibly segregated city. Your mother, Ruth, also came from Shreveport in Louisiana, a segregated city and state.
Yeah.
Your father, Rufus, I know he wasn't really a part of your life growing up,
right?
But comes from Memphis.
Yeah.
Very segregated as well.
Yeah.
It's maybe hard for some people to see, that those experiences were going on at that time in America and still, are kind of coming back now, especially for people living on this side of the ocean.
Oh, it's a strange time we're having now. But I tell some of my childhood stories and people are so sure that Bakersfield is like in the South, and that's California,
right?
Central California. And granted, my family came, during the 40s and 50s migration from the South to work, pick cotton in the fields in Bakersfield, and so. There was this transplantation of the South, and all of the things that entails. Good Southern cooking, great gospel music, but that other thing that exists as well, and the residue of that still existed firmly for my mother, but even for me, lived in some areas that were predominantly white, all white, really. We were one of two black families in the neighborhood. And we were catching hell. You know, they would urinate in beer bottles, and they threw watermelons through the window and throw these beer bottles through the window. They cut down mine and my brother's tree house that was in the front yard. It was really just a big tall tree, and we just would climb it. And they came 2:00 in the morning with a high powered chainsaw and tried to cut it down and have it fall down on the house. But they got 3/4 through it, and they didn't finish the job before my older brother came and chased them away. But on and on, things like that. I'd been called names so many times that even to this day, this word doesn't affect me. It's just like, it's just kind of numbing. But that was a challenge. It felt dangerous. My brother was shot walking home from his job late at night in court. They had just admitted racist. We were looking for somebody black to mess with. And it sounds crazy. It sounds unbelievable. But it was, that's what happened. That's what happened. And at the same time, I had great friendships in school, and in sports. I didn't play soccer, but I don't know why. I just remember playing soccer with kids in the neighborhood, kicking the ball in their front yards. Good friends and, good times in school. There was some difficulties as well, but somehow I have managed over time to allow the good times and the good friends to overpower, those instances where the ugly head of bigotry and racism raised its head in a number of ways. It was the police as well. I remember as a little boy, it was a pretty nice house, but I remember the police driving by and slamming on his brakes, skidding in the middle of the street, getting out. And we were two little boys, like 8 and 9, myself and my older brother. And the police walked over to us and were like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "We live here." And he's like, "No, you don't." And it sounds like a scene out of a movie. And then he took me and my brother and he straightened our shoulders so we were facing the street. And he was like, "What's your address?" And, first of all, my heart is beating by being touched by a police officer.
Sure.
His lights are on. And I'm like, 3024 Christmas Tree Lane. And at that point, my uncle comes, and there wasn't a physical confrontation, but they were yelling.
Yeah.
And all because me and my brother were playing tag in the front yard, and we were just running back and forth, and that was suspicious.
I want to talk about also something that might be a little bit uncomfortable as well, but you had such a close relationship with Lloyd.
Yeah.
And Lloyd passed away during the coronavirus pandemic from COVID.
Yeah.
How did you get past that loss? Here you had lost your mother, a while back, but she was so influential for you.
Yeah.
You lost your father, who you feel, I think you've described it as feeling like you never learned who he was until at his funeral.
Right.
And then somebody else, incredibly important to your life.
Yeah. Lloyd was enormously important. I think he was, we held each other's memories. Like, I'll remember this part of our lives and you remember the other part. And so when he passed, tragically from this, crazy time, he was healthier than me, just a year older than me. And so it was just such a crazy time. And I had an enormous amount of difficulty processing it. I would say that I did dipped down into some, depression about it, because it was very, very unexpected, strange, unfair, all of that. How have I gotten over it? I haven't. And I tried to, do my own pseudotherapy. I tried to do, TikTok therapy. I tried, everybody's advice, but what I realized, and which is what has happened with my mother, the way that I honor them, the way that they're still in my life, the way that they stay alive within me is by expressing some joy that they brought to me in their lives. My brother, he was extraordinary. And, I talk about how amazing my mother was. My brother was equally extraordinary. So he was funny my entire life. He was funny. And he was funny for other people as well. He's like, man, your brother, he would do such crazy and funny things. And he was like that when we were 4. Mm-hmm. And he stayed that way until he was, 49. He was even trying to joke. I only got a few texts from him once he went into the hospital, and I look at those texts, and he's even trying to joke. Then he's like, this ain't nothing but a thing, don't worry about it. And even in. He had to be scared because, he only went in because he had difficulty breathing. And he was still trying to make me, have a giggle with his last little clicks of the phone. And, after those, last couple of texts, he just sent me the thing. Said, they're gonna put a tube down here for a couple of days. Mm-hmm. They're gonna put a tube in my throat for a couple of days, and it's like, don't worry about it. And after that happened, just nothing more from him. So he was in the hospital for until my mother's birthday, on May 6th, and he died on her birthday. But just devastating in how the whole thing unfolded. But now it's not a anthem that I want to write for him or a project or entire project. I think he'll just come out in the music in the ways that my mother does. Things that he said and things that he's taught me, and how to be a man and how to stand up and if you have a bright light, let it shine. These types of things will just come out in the music, and he'll be there naturally and organically. And I won't call his name in the music, but his name will be imprinted in the music. He's already in my music. And so I didn't, so the lyric, somebody told me get over it. It's like water under bridges that have already burned. Well, that somebody that was in the music was my brother. And this was, this breakup that I had when I was wandering around the country in my car. But we were standing on a bridge, and I had the blues about this girl, and he was like, man, get over that girl. And so he was the one that was telling me to get over it. He was the one holding me up. He's like, man, you're a good guy. You're going to bounce back. You're going to come back. Everything is going to be better. Your future is bright. And he was doing that thing that loved ones do, hold you up when you're at your weakest. And I was singing the song one night, I lost my concentration. After he died, I was like, and by the end of the song, I'm in tears because I realized he is the somebody that told me to get over it. When I wrote that song standing next to him. And so when I sing the song now, it means something it used to be about that girl, but it's about the somebody who told me to get over it. It's about him. It's about the people that hold you up, And so when I thought it was a love song that was like, do you remember the days we used to spend? Memory so strong, it keeps me from moving on. If I could go back, I'd take our worst days. Even our worst days are better than loneliness. So I thought that was about her. When I wrote the lyric, maybe it was. But now the lyric is about me missing him. And it's taken on an entirely different meaning. And the lyric is appropriate and it fits and it works. If it is a brokenhearted song for somebody, it can continue to be that for them. But when I sing it, for me, it's in some way honoring him, telling me to get over it. Things are going to be okay.
Yeah. How do these emotions come out on stage?
On stage, they come out in soaring notes, and sometimes, the audience will have to pause with me because I need to get those emotions out and go on and have a quick little cry, and it happens. The band may be tired of it. It's like, okay, all right, we got to do a little musical interlude here because he's boohooing again. Damn it! But I do it. I can't. Sometimes the memories are so strong about being with my mother on Lakeview, the road, the alley, that sometimes, I go there in my head, and there were times. There was this person, Bob. He was a Harvard-educated man who just couldn't get it all together. He was very intelligent. And all he wanted from my mother was a room. So she had a little hotel. And so he gave him a room. And she would ask me to boil a pot of coffee and bring him some donuts out of the freezer. And Bob would be so thankful for this. Cup of coffee and frozen donuts from my mother. But those type of moments come to my head when I'm singing that song. Handing clothes to people. I remember, and I think of her real conviction and real love that she had for people. Mm-hmm. And that can't help but come into the music. And so people say, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what I feel when you're singing. I feel something. And it's like, that's the thing you're feeling. There's an energy behind these few little words. There's a grand mountain of emotion that pushes this quite simple poetry. And so that's what you feel behind, you feel my mother and her energy and her, altruism and all this, the stuff that she was. And same thing, the same thing is with anything that moves me. If I'm I try to write songs that have some real meaning in my heart. And so the meaning is coming out in the sound of my voice. Mm-hmm. And that's the feeling. That's that thing, that undescribable thing that's in the music. Yeah.
You're bringing those feelings about your mother and about Lloyd and about all of these experiences that you've had in the past to your audience.
Yeah.
Are you also bringing this into your family, your wife, your children?
Yeah. It kind of goes together. I think even my children, when I had my son, he's 13 now, and his parents aren't the most popular people in his life now. When you're 13, he's got his friends now, but I wrote a song for him, "Don't Lose Your Steam," but hoping that he takes my energy and moves it on to his children, and his children move his energy on. This legacy. So they know that their life is subject to be made into a song. They know that, they feel my mother in the music. My sons never met my mother. They died before she died before they were born. And so, it's all kind of part of how we communicate.
Mm-hmm.
But this is how I best communicate. I tell them I love them all the time, but I also want to leave something that's on vinyl and won't ever disappear. And I can just this is my daddy, and this is what he said about me. Don't lose your head of steam. Don't lose your head of dreams. That's a real statement I wrote for them, and I mean it. Yeah.
I mean, how much of it is your mother getting you past these moments in your life to bring you kind of to
enormous
optimist person that you seem
enormous. She got in our face, and when something was said about our hair or our broad noses or our skin or whatever, she got in our face and let us know that we were handsome, beautiful children, and we deserved, every bit of the good life as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Not better, but equal to anybody. And that was her vibe. That was her vibe. And her service to the community was never just, Black people, never just, some people, the very last act of her life was helping somebody. This family that had driven to Bakersfield from Oklahoma, who had no place to live and no money. And I remember she got $600 out of her purse as she's on her deathbed, and gave these people $600 so they could have some housing.
It's amazing.
White family. But she would do this. It didn't matter. No, it just didn't matter to her. And, but yeah, she was in our faces, just to fortify us and strengthen us for whatever issues we had to go through. And at the time it was, this was the 80s. For some reason, in this area where we were, it was very significant. Yeah, very significant.
I mean, you've said before that it's your mother who likened you to Nat King Cole.
Yeah.
Already when you were like 5 or 6 years old or something like that. Singing a song.
Just a big dreamer. Yeah. She was. It was her birthday on the 6th. So yeah.
What other ways did she, expand your knowledge and influences with music?
Yeah, well, she was, we had a lot of Mahalia Jackson in the house. And there was, a lot of a choir, Mississippi Mass Choir and James Cleveland, a lot of those records. Just great gospel music. She loved the smooth crooners, Nat King Cole.
I'm going to take a guess on 2.
Go ahead.
I'm going to guess on Al Green.
Yeah. No, not so much Al Green. Al Green was a little too sexy for her. Now, my brothers are the ones that brought in, the Temptations, Al Green,
yeah,
the soulful singers, but
because you sometimes get compared to Barry White with your music, but I when I listen to your music, Barry White's not really who I hear other than, I mean, you see, you're like as tall as Barry White was,
maybe.
Who I met him when I was 10 and he was like,
giant.
3 of me stacked on top of each other. And, I hear more, in sort of the way you use your voice a little bit more towards, if you had to go from somebody that era, Teddy Pendergrass, with the sort of strain in your voice sometimes. But also, these other, there's, Lou Rawls, it comes from that era. Bill Withers. Also.
This is where I would be. This is where I would be. I think all of those people you mentioned had some, experience singing in church.
Right.
Where you making music, seeking the face of God, and then you're not transitioning to a worldly music, but it's, you're singing the expressions of love in a different way, in a different form. So, well, I'll take that analysis. I mean, every now and then I'll hit a Barry White note, every now and then. But she liked, these just really smooth classic jazz singers. Aside from her, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, and Nat King Cole, and Arthur Prysock, this kind of singer. But she liked that and her gospel music. And so it was me digging into her Nat King Cole records that really solidified like a particular sound and a particular approach to music, which is this, just beautifully emotive, emotional way of expressing music. And quite frankly, I think from an early age, I recognized the power of music and the power of a song like Nature Boy. The entire song is constructed for the last lines. The greatest love, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. And as I write and as I sing, I'm constantly trying to achieve, that level of beauty if I can. That's the mark. That's the mark, to try to do that. I
mean, you've told this story so many times about getting injured. You went and played American football at San Diego State. Getting injured, so becoming a professional football player, was out of the question when you hurt your shoulder. And it was your mom, as she was dying, who drove you back to, singing and reminding you of that, your talents and your passion for that. You've talked about that a lot. And in most interviews, I see people bring that up. But what I'd also like to know is the role that your brother Lloyd played in getting you into singing.
Enormous. Because I was and still am at some points very shy. And he wasn't. He was an extrovert and was like, was always looking and expressing himself and trying to find different opportunities. We would go into a room and of complete strangers, and he was like, "Hey, my brother can sing." It was just a boring dentist office or something. Like, "Hey, my brother can sing. Y'all want to hear him sing?" And they'd be pushing me in my back, like,
Lloyd,
many times.
Quit it.
Like,
cut it out, Lloyd.
Cut it, man, please. But time and time again, he would do that, and after a while, being put on the spot so much, then you grow a thicker skin, and you do as well as my mother doing the same thing in church. There was something about performing in church. There was a shield. It was like I wasn't alone. It was like me, God, and then there was this it was a canon of music that everybody already understood. So it wasn't it wasn't singular, you know, it wasn't me. I'm just a vessel. You understand?
Right.
And so, but singing secular music, singing, you know, just regular radio songs was like, now it's you. And there's something about that just scared me to death. I mean, that's just at 8 and 9 that I'm talking about. But they believed in me, quite frankly, believed in me more than I believed in myself. And it stayed that way. Until my mother's last breath. She was like, Gregory, don't forget about your music. It's the best thing you do. She encouraged me. I was trying to tell her, Mom, I'm going to wear brown shoes and I'm going to be a good citizen and don't worry about me. She was like, well, you know, take the risky route, son. Take the risky route and pursue your music. And so it gave me license. Mm-hmm. Somebody said I could. Mama said I could before she died. And so, you know, years of you know, unfruitful attempts were, you know, made valid from her saying, keep trying. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I needed that. My personality needed that, somebody to sanction it, to sanction this road that I was going to take with music. And my brother was extraordinary, and trying to find ways and opportunities for me to be in the music game. And when I got there, when I signed a contract with my first record company, Motema, he was an actor, and he knew people who worked in film. He knew people who were directors and videographers and all this kind of thing. So I had made the record, and I was like, okay, let the record company do what they're going to do. And unbeknownst to me, he goes to my record company and asks for a budget to make a video for my songs. And he negotiates a budget that was bigger than my recording budget. So unbeknownst to me. And I come to find out, he comes into my apartment and it's like, so we're going to shoot a video for, 1960 What, and we're going to do it in Detroit. And, I already got the plane tickets. This is how we're going to do it. Not to aggrandize himself, not to big up himself, but to lift me up, to give me some shine that maybe would push my product further. And it did that. And he got the professionals, the great filmmakers, the editors, all these people in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And we did this thing, and it's just, man, so cool that it happened. And
he was kind of responsible for bringing you out to New York in the first place, right?
Right. I was in. I had just finished doing a theater play, and which is another artistic endeavor I found myself in, and I was in. And I had just cut ties with a relationship I had in California. So I was a free agent. Mm-hmm. Everything I owned was in my car. And so much so that every hotel was so sure that the ironing board that was in the back of my car was theirs. And they would send me a bill. I kid you not. I have 2 or 3 bills for unpaid ironing, theft of ironing boards. But anyway, I was standing in an apartment in Louisville, Kentucky. And I said to myself, I have enough money to rent an apartment here in Kentucky for 6 months. And I'll take that 6 months and I'll write songs and I'll see where we go from here. Mm-hmm. And as I'm in this apartment, about to sign the contract for the lease, my brother calls, and he's like, man, okay, I'm here in New York. I bought this coffee shop, and I want to expand the coffee shop, and I want to, do a renovation and open up the coffee shop. Come here, help me do that. And in the evenings, you just start doing your thing, and just work on because I know you want to maybe stop doing the theater thing and cultivate your music. Just doing that specifically, make a record and all this kind of thing. And he saved me from signing that lease. And it was a great apartment though.
Yeah, but it's the difference between being, in Louisville on the rebound.
In Louisville, that's exactly what it was. It was an apartment near the river, somewhere I could just sing my blues and heal from this broken heart of this relationship that ended. So I come to New York City. I help him. I'm cultivating, writing songs in New York. Found the band, most of which is the band that I have now. And those first songs that I wrote, many were about this broken heart that I had. And some of those songs were written, driving in that car with that ironing board in the back.
Right.
And, yeah, but it was, I had some success in theater and some starts and stops in music. Mm-hmm. I had recorded one song with Hubert Laws. I kept waiting for somebody to hear my voice and just take me and make me.
Right.
Make me a star in something, or at least, give me 2 or 3 songs to record, and it would be what it. But that wasn't happening.
The celebrity myth, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't happening. And so I said to myself, I was like, well, if it's going to happen, I'm going to have to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to do it. And at least I'll make one document. I'll make one record. Just to let the world know that I was here at one point. But the first record got a Grammy nomination and a lot of attention. And, there's kind of the buzz was that, there's a new voice in jazz. And so that really propelled my career and led to the next record and the next energies that would happen. And so, yeah. And
it wasn't long before Liquid Spirit comes out, which...
Right, which was my third record. I had 2 with Motema, mm-hmm. Water and Be Good. And then my third record with Blue Note Records, which was Liquid Spirit, which really had a wider acceptance and great success.
I mean, what is it about that song that's been, such a, not just a resounding hit kind of when it came out, but also a hit with a remix, and a song that people seem to keep coming back to? What is it about that song that is so appealing?
For me, I have to go back to my mother. She used to preach about water all the time. She used the metaphor of water, cleansing, renewing, and so I took this theme from her sermons, and put it into, the liquid is the metaphor for love. And I hope that people are feeling it. It has the, the backbeat and feel of a gospel song, and it has a groove, and between the lyric and the feel, and what happened with the remix, quite frankly, remixes of Liquid Spirit, it's gone over very well all over the world, really, and I can be more thankful for that song, and really many of the songs on that record, have like put me in people's homes and put me in the room when the baby is being born, and sometimes when the baby is being made. Sometimes, often I get all these messages, the life experiences of people
Mm.
You know, the last breath of my father. What was he was listening to one of your songs, No Love Dying. And this, we played this at such and such funeral. I get it all. They, you know, this song was being played for the wedding or for whatever it be. But
what was the song or the album that kind of got you on Jools Holland's radar? Because you've done so much work with him, so many appearances on his show and performances with him.
Yeah, the very first, my very first record, somebody got a copy of Water to him, and he listened to Illusions, and he fell in love with it, and asked me to come on his show and do it, and that was my break in the UK. Once I was on his show. Before I was on his show, I was doing, you know, little jazz clubs. There's a pizza joint there called Pizza Express that also has about a 50, 60 seat jazz club in the basement.
Right.
So I was performing there, and I was just happy to be in London. Really, the gig with flights and a place to stay, you were doing it, you were paying to do the gig. But after I did Jools Holland, you know, we did Pizza Express, you know, a few times. But after Jools, we kind of skipped the mid-level, you know, larger jazz clubs and went straight to, you know, maybe 1,000-seat theaters, and then after that, you know, bigger and bigger, and we do 4 nights at Royal Albert Hall quite often. You know, generally every other year.
Were you playing those bigger venues in the UK, but also, I mean, I've heard you talk about touring around the Ukraine and Russia before the war. Were you playing bigger venues in places like this before you were playing bigger venues in the States?
It varied, different markets. You know, Russia, when I was performing in Russia and Ukraine, there were always like 1,000-seaters. But they have a system there where we would, I mean, you could get on a radio show, you come the day of, or maybe a day before. I don't know what my promoter was doing. Maybe he was giving the DJ a little money, but we would get on and do, you know, perform a couple of songs, play a couple of songs off. Then was my demo record, and before you knew it, it was 800 people, 1,000 people at the venue the next day or the next, you know, couple of days. And sometimes I wonder if people were coming out of curiosity as well as for the music. But, you know, 2 or 3 songs, I mean, and I had them in the palm of my hand, and it was a great experience for many of the other places that I would go and perform. To have those first concerts in Russia and Ukraine. The first stamp on my passport was Ukraine, and it was extraordinary. Those experiences, you know, it'll never happen again because both countries have changed dramatically over the last 20 years. But the openness, the rawness of humanity, the beauty was just extraordinary. I can't explain it. Yeah.
Are we going to see another album coming out from you anytime soon?
As we speak, I'm working on the record. This, you know, in between the events that I've had to do here, I'm working on the music, and I'll do it this evening. I'll do it tomorrow morning, and so yeah, I'm cultivating everything that we need to do before we go into the studio, and we'll do that in the next couple of months. Yeah.
My last question: our producer Laura Bodger, who unfortunately couldn't be here today because she's in Germany right now, but her father is actually a record engineer, a studio engineer himself.
Okay,
and he wanted me to ask you why you only seem to perform with live musicians in person, and what your feelings are about background recordings and sequencing and, you know, recorded parts.
It can be awesome, but I think for me, the authenticity of the live experience, of the mistakes, the pimples, the extremes of the voice and the instrumentation, all of those things, it's like a tightrope, and there's some fun in it. There's some game in it. I like it. And I think, yes, disasters can happen, but a fly could land in the back of your throat, and it has on live television as you're singing. It can happen. but the you know, this is what we do. It's what we do, and I like to do it, you know, live as often as I can. Yeah. So, but that's interesting. Really interesting question. Yeah, I like to be live and present.
Maybe that's why you said putting it on vinyl for your kids, because there's a big difference between listening to something on vinyl right. than listening to an MP3. Right? Yeah. But look, I could sit here easily and talk to you for another hour, 2 more hours, 3 more hours.
Yeah.
So I hope that we get a chance to do this again, and I hope to see you in June. And you know, I have a list of about 1 million questions.
Yeah.
And it's just been so generous of your time to sit here.
Oh, very nice. Very nice to talk to you, and I appreciate it. We're I don't know when this will air, but we're at the Olympic Stadium on June 29th. I'm very much looking forward to it, and yeah, thank you so much for having me. And quite frankly, this diving into life and thinking about all of these subjects is, you know, actually great before a songwriting session, because, you know, these emotions that you heard just now, that kind of stuff comes out, and you know. So thank you for that.
And I just enjoy your music so much. So thank you, and keep doing it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Damn Yankee is an NL Times podcast. The show was created by me and Peach Rizzo, and this episode was produced by Marcus Engel and Laura Bodger.